What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I hope you all are so excited to receive the best hour you have ever received in your entire life. Why? Because this hour has it all, baby. Hope, positivity, inspiration, motivation, empowerment, encouragement, the whole nine. So I hope you are excited. Get ready, pull up a chair, pull up a couple of shots, let your hair down, kick your shoes off, and catch the great energy that is in this room, because it is all dedicated for you, baby. Let's go. Woo!
Hey, listen up, y'all. I'm going to shout out this young gun right here because he's trying to do his thing. Joseph Jaffe, not famous. Probably rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm famous because, he not famous. And he like, yo, let me call my famous friends and see if they'll shout me out and make me more famous, sir. Right? But so, Joseph Jaffe, man, it's cool. You got your late night talk show popping off. That's what's dope. Streaming, been doing your thing, man. Started this in March of the 2020, which is, tough throughout the years, but booking great guests, man. Jamal Mashboard, James Rollins, steady building it, man. Keep it popping off, man. Keep building your brand, man. Believe in yourself. Keep going hard, all right? That's what it's all about. One of these days, this little acronym of yours, not famous, is not going to be true. People going to see you in the mall and be like, I know who you is. Them going to be your cousins saying it all incorrect like that. But you know what I'm saying? You know what you going to do. What you going to do? They family. All right, bro.
Am I being overconfident? Am I becoming complacent about complacency?
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I've got big ears.
Brian doesn't want to see anyone else. Piss off!
That's the one, because you literally complete me, and we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian.
Hey, Manuel Kemp was a real pissant who was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, D. PNG now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date. Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane!
Did I do that? You're insane! Well, welcome everybody. It is Thursday, June 17th. It is show number the last for this period of time. I already feel the emotions are welling up. Tom Morris is here. He says, hi, friends, from his study, Plato's Reverse Cave of Insights. Sounds exciting. Robert Collins says, I know who you is. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is one hell of an intro. Manif is here, direct from the hardware store. Nothing but the best for our guests, for our audience, for our community, for our family. And of course, Glenn is here this is so cosmopolitan. He's in his office in Baltimore for the first time in 15 months, but the grand dame of all, my mother, Natalie Jaffe, is watching, and I hope you're enjoying it today. David Libby says, yay, here we go. Wow, so many comments. Jeff Wallman is here, all the regulars, the Jaffe coin holders. I love it, I love it, I love it, and thank you. I am trying to be as dapper as I can. Dapper Joe, Dapper Joe. So yesterday, do you remember I gave away some free Jaffe coin? How about we do it again? All you have to do is point your phone, unless of course you're watching it on your phone, in which case you are what's known as SOOL. But if not, there is a little QR code that just popped up on the screen. All you got to do is point your camera at it, follow those instructions, and 5 Jaffe coin will be making their way to your account with a street value, always sounds a bit shady, doesn't it, of about $15 US. That is your gift for just tuning in live. This is part of my experimentation to recognize and reward my live viewers, because we are operating in the streaming era. It is so exciting to be a part of this, and I'm so excited to have you a part of it. So Hopefully you follow the instructions. In fact, you can do it quite intuitively through that QR code. Let's get on with the show. It is National Garbage Man Day. Happy, I remember celebrating this last year as well. And I think at the time, calling out the people that do collect our garbage as essential workers during a time when we shouldn't and didn't and take anyone or anything for granted. So we continue to acknowledge you, men and women that clean the garbage. You are unsung heroes to a degree. And so we just wanted to say, have a great day. It is a great day because she is back. She is the queen. She's a message strategist, an idea whisperer, and author of Find Your Red Thread, the unbelievably famous Tamsen Webster. I think I called her the high priestess last time, and I do not. That is not an exaggeration. She certainly is. Want to acknowledge Mr. Stephen Rubin, who is here, and Tom says our neighborhood trash guys are awesome. Then after Tamsen, we have the incredibly famous and becoming even more famous by the song, Gabriel Greenwood. He is a creator, singer, songwriter, an arranger, composer, and a voice teacher. And in between, it is Thursday, so it's time for a little bit of philosophy. And there's no better philosopher on this planet than Mr. Tom Morris. And tomorrow, this is my final show in this format, but we're doing a Zoom reunion show with up to 7 of my guests from this week and last week, and up to 7 of the creators from this week and last week. I don't know how we're going to fit them all in, but come and join us on Zoom. And yes, I will be giving away more Jaffe coin as well. I do want to just mention that if you are watching this live at 9 o'clock tonight, mainly through YouTube, the offer will not apply, because the key to this QR code, the key to this program is that the QR code is only live while the show is live. That's the whole point. It's driving and rewarding live tune-in. But don't worry, because if you are watching tonight, you can come back to that Zoom after show and take advantage of your Jaffe coin. And of course, to all of those watching right now, point your phone very quickly to that QR code, and it is my small way of saying thank you. I do want to acknowledge some birthdays. Was this yesterday or was this today? I'm not really sure. I think this was actually, I forgot to upload today's birthday. So for those of you having birthdays today, happy birthday. And for those of you having birthdays tomorrow, Mr. Ted McConnell, Rob Middleton, and Sophia Laurel, you can take all of the good vibes, because you know what? I'm just human. I made a mistake. I forgot to update today's birthdays, but don't worry. I will make sure that I post on your wall. I also want to just take a moment to acknowledge my 2 sons. Jack graduated. He moved on up from middle school to high school yesterday. Tamsen is clapping in the background. And Aaron graduates from high school, going into college, University of Miami, rising freshman. And tonight we have his graduation, which is part of the reason why I'm doing the entire show live at 12. And then we'll do a premiere on YouTube tonight. Just want to say, Jack and Aaron, your dad is proud of you. I love you guys so much. And mazel tov to both of you. Well, it is 5 days to go for heart surgery. Yesterday, I did I was a guest on Carla Johnson's show. I was a guest on Jay Baer and Adam Brown's Social Pro show. I did my show, and then I did a corporate private event at 11 p.m. into midnight, past midnight. I'm just trying to stay so busy that I don't actually have to think about what is happening in 5 days' time. But it is happening, and I have to acknowledge it. And I also want to make sure that I'm acknowledging everyone that has shown support by donating Jaffe coin to me through rally.io/creator/Jaffe. And the thing that I've said on the show, and continue to say this, hey, Fanzo, you just sent me something as well. Every single one of these experiential campaigns are tied to the show. So everything from the shout out that you're getting right now, all the way up to what David Berkowitz bought. He donated $9,000, and I will be doing his own customized version of Joseph Jaffe Is Not Famous for his entire community. So whether it is $9,000 or $18 or even $1, I just want to say that I appreciate it. And also, most importantly, the Mitral Foundation will get 10% of the proceeds. Guess what, guys? You don't have to hear me talking about this again, because the next time you are seeing me on the show, hopefully I will be fully recovered, or maybe not fully, but rehabbing and stronger, and not burnt out, because we know this is the number one problem that we are suffering from right now, and that our people are suffering from right now. Well, it is the final seated soliloquy, at least of this leg of the journey, and it is called Leaving Legacy. I actually wrote this for a corporate client and delivered it last night at 11 p.m. Eastern Daily Time, live to their Asia Pacific market. I thought it was appropriate to reprise it today for my last show before surgery. Leaving a legacy. These three words have so much more meaning for me, as I know I'm going into open heart surgery next week. Suddenly, thoughts about fragility, vulnerability, and mortality become consuming and consistent, as opposed to glancing or random. Both meditation guru Lodro Rinsler and legendary management guru Tom Peters mentioned the same concept to me on my show, the idea of resume versus eulogy qualities. So think about it in binary terms. If everything you do in your life is either a resume or eulogy quality, how would your scorecard or report card read? A resume quality, like the name suggests, is something that you'd put on your resume or CV in order to get a job, win an award, or impress a third party. Your professional credentials. A eulogy quality, like the name suggests, is something people would talk about at your funeral or wake, something you'll be remembered for, something that will outlast you, something you did that made a mark on society or even the world, perhaps even changed a life. Your personal credentials. But hang on a second, why should a eulogy quality not apply equally to work? Well, that's rhetorical. It should, it can, it must. We change lives every day when we hire, and the way we hire, the way we mentor, promote, and elevate our employees, business partners, and customers. We change lives every day when we give back. We change lives every day when we invest in our communities. By the same token, we can have the same impact and influence on the brands we create, nurture, protect, and build. Now, I'm sure you've all heard the saying, no one ever said on their deathbed, I should have spent more time in the office. But why not? What if we could be saying, I should have spent more time in the office? Crazy thought, I know. I want to leave you with another saying often used to describe anxiety and stress. If you're not going to worry about it in 5 years' time, don't spend more than the next 5 minutes worrying about it now. But what if we turned that around, flipped it on its head, and applied it to work? If it's going to matter in 5 years' time, don't waste more than the next 5 minutes worrying about it. And then get back to work. Because the work matters. Brands matter. You matter. So let's work on our professional eulogy qualities that define a legacy that will live on long after we log off. And, I hope that this show has become both a personal and professional eulogy quality. But don't start preparing any actual eulogies for me anytime soon, because as the saying goes, I'll be right back and the show must go on. And so now it is time for Tamsen Webster. And, I realized doing, a little bit of music sometimes and then reading a bio or introducing my guest needs a little bit of music. So that's Tamsen's music. Part strategist, part storyteller, part English to English translator. Love that. Tamsen Webster helps experts drive action with their ideas. Tamsen honed her trademark red thread approach in and for major organizations like Johnson & Johnson, Harvard Medical School, and Intel, as well as with hundreds of individual founders, academics, and thought leaders. She's a former TEDx executive producer and current idea strategist. That probably means she's going to be working for Clubhouse soon. Just a little insider joke. She's also author of Find Your Red Thread, Make Your Big Ideas Irresistible. And she is irresistible. Let's welcome her on the show. Tamsen, welcome back. Welcome back.
I'm so excited to be back. Woo! Excellent. And while Munif is at the hardware store, if he could pick me up some, paint and a carpet knife, that'd be great because I need those. I'm about to move.
Yeah, he'll be right over. Tamsen, you are guest number 118. I think actually yesterday's guest might have been 271, but I've really come to just love when a previous guest comes back on the show. So welcome back. How the hell are you?
I am well. Things are well. It's here in Boston, Massachusetts. Things are very much back to normal, which is lovely. It's exactly the kind of day that you would love to have in late June, mid 70s, sunny, dry. It's a good day. It's a good time.
It is a good day. And I'll tell you, it is a good day as well for graduations. And I'm wearing this suit tonight. And it's just going to be awesome. So
That's awesome.
So Tamsen, I went back and I listened to our entire interview again because, my wife will tell you that I don't even remember what the hell I said or she said last night, or maybe even 5 minutes ago. And, I didn't want us to be repetitive, or I didn't want to even reference something that we'd referenced. I think it's the least that a host can do for their guest. But I learned more stuff today going back and watching that show. I went back and I added to my notes. Just an amazing, rich conversation. I also didn't want to repeat some of the fun facts about you.
I didn't know what I'd said before. So
Well, did you see your little cameo in the intro?
I did. I did.
There was something about Nosferatu, and I imagined that had something to do with some of your fun facts. Including, but not limited to, well, this one certainly is a new one. You are a world record holder, or at least I have made you one right now. I mean, I love the way you said, can hold undiluted Listerine in my mouth for over a minute. I'm guessing these aren't exactly what you're looking for. No, it's exactly what I'm looking for. How can you even do this? My mouth starts burning after 14 seconds.
You build up over time. That I learned this. You build up over time. Because in the beginning, when my dentist was like, you need to do this for a minute, I'm like, you are insane. I don't know how this happened. So I started it diluted, and then I just eventually was able to do it. And now I can do it for the minute. So don't ask me to demonstrate it, but it is possible. I can assure you of that.
Yeah. Fun fact: it's actually Dolly Parton behind you, by the way. I'm sure you could have told by her nails and a few locks of blonde hair.
Yes, I was wondering where those came in, but hey, if I love Dolly, I'm happy to be the head on her body for a little bit.
So here's your other fun fact that we're going to be sharing today, which is you are allergic to the sun. And you are also allergic to sunblock. Whee!
Yeah. This is like the definition of a catch-22. Yeah, that's pretty much me when I go out. Yeah,
well, at least one part of that image is in fact you.
Yeah, I recognize that. I'm like, that's my mouth.
It is your mouth. It is your nose as well. But so what do you, I mean, first of all, your complexion is not, it's not, I mean, it is great, your complexion.
Thanks.
So what do you do about going outdoors?
So it's not an immediate thing, but it basically, if I've had any kind of direct sun exposure for about 5 minutes, then I start to break out in hives. So I wear a lot of long sleeve clothing. I carry an umbrella with me almost always during the summer. So I just carry portable shade. And if I do need sunblock, like if I'm at the beach or something, then I use the kind that comes in a stick so that I don't it's actually my hands that react to that. So I can't touch sunblock. So as long as I can put it on with somewhere that I don't have to touch it, that it's all right. I know. I'm very high maintenance.
But you're worth it. You're worth it.
That's what I'd like to
Tom
say.
says you're worth it.
Okay. Excellent. He better, because I don't know where he is.
Oh,
He's
you know
somewhere.
what? A Tom Webster cameo would be. I mean, it would just drive views wild. So
I know. I think he's actually in the other room right now. So he's
It's much easier to talk about him when he's not in the room, because
right.
when the Webster is unleashed on you, you better be on top of your game.
I know. If you've got both of us, then you better watch out.
So Tamsen, as always, you send me new ideas, new thoughts, new provocations, and I want to get straight into them. The first thing that is on your mind right now is an Ivy League professor says there are only 3 types of friendships that we make. And this one was really interesting to me because they're known as tight knitters, compartmentalizers, and samplers. I'm like, they all sound kind of gross. I'm like, do I want to have any of these friendships? Can you define these 3 for us, and also tell us why did this article intrigue you and get your attention?
Well, I discovered the article, so full credit where it's due. I discovered the article through my absolute favorite podcast, which is a podcast called Curiosity Daily, hosted by Ashley Hamer and Cody Guff. And it's 10 minutes, usually 2 to 3 science stories every day. And this one was on probably a week or 2 ago, when they were also talking about how humans can detect differences in different kinds of screams. Like, we can tell the difference between like a scream of fright and a scream of joy, and we attend more to the screams of joy. But it struck me as just really fascinating, because I would say, in a way, I always felt that I was like friendship challenged, because I would see people with like these giant groups of friends, or they seem to be people who just like always, like, they were really close with people from where they grew up or whatever. And I was like, I'm somebody who has like a friend from each phase of my life. Like, there is a friend from high school. I have kind of a friend from undergrad, like one from grad school, like one from like this area of my life, one from that. And so I have a very small group of friends. And I was just like, there's something wrong with me. So as with most things, when I heard this, I was like, oh, I am just of a type. And so of these 3, I'm what's known as a sampler. So this research says that the sampler type is somebody who basically samples a friend from kind of different parts of their lives. And that's it. It's a small group of folks that those folks really never interact with each other. And you make really close friendships with very few people, but they are very deep, long-lasting friendships that represent different phases of your life. And I was like, I feel better about myself now. But at the same time, I could totally recognize the other 2. So the tight knitters, as far as I understand it, are folks that have a tight-knit group of people that they've kind of always had. So from what I understand, these are folks that basically, like, it's a group of people you grew up with, and that you're still in contact with. You still, a lot of times you still live near these people, or at the very least you get together for like a reunion once a year. It's just a really, really tight group of people that are oftentimes created because of a physical co-location of some kind. So I would imagine that the same thing applies if your biggest group of friends is still, let's say, your sorority or fraternity, members that you were part of. I was part of neither. Again, friendship challenge. And then the last kind, again, a group of folks that I've seen, in my friends, or the folks that are known as compartmentalizers. And those are folks that have kind of small groups of friends, but they're in different areas of their life, not phases like the samplers, but there's like there's work friends and college friends and neighborhood friends, and they are these great little groups of folks, but those folks never interact with each other either. So that's how I understand it. I didn't do the research, but I just thought it was fascinating just to be able to observe, just to see, to have something that you observe in the world validated in a different way. I always think that's a useful thing. So I love discovering things like that.
And obviously there's, part of the conversation is about quality versus quantity. Part of the conversation is about context. Why do you think this is, and how do you think this is relevant now, and you know, when we think also about the phenomenon that is Clubhouse, you know, but we've been living this. I call it asynchronous intimacy, where we develop these contextual friendships with people we've never met before, and sometimes they can become quite powerful and quite deep. And I certainly would regard, you know, I see Manif. He said, by the way, sampler is a fancy way of describing my friendship style as well. And Tom says Aristotle divided friendship into three kinds also: utility friends, pleasure friends, and virtue or true friends. Utilities help each other, pleasures enjoy their company, virtues truly care. But I would genuinely call Tom and Manif my friends.
Absolutely.
And I just met him.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I found fascinating about this research was that it was really focused on networks, on how you build them. And I think that I think it's compatible with the Aristotelian approach, where like within your groups, there's folks that are utility or pleasure or virtues. I'm working with a woman now for TEDx Cambridge who does related but different work. I mean, her research is about styles of not friend networks, but just how we create networks. And she is very strongly of the belief that that's incredibly important, empowering to understand. As she said, you don't need to go someplace else. You don't need to be someplace else or be someone else in order to get that structure and the connection you're looking for, that you're perfect right where you are. You just need to understand your style of doing it. And when you understand your style of doing it, I think that can be quite empowering. So I think it's true from the asynchronous stuff. I would imagine, you know, not knowing the woman who did the friendship research, that there's probably, you know, the different kinds of friend makers are probably have different tolerances for, you know, how long it takes to know somebody asynchronously or online only before they become like a friend and considered to be a friend. But what I love about this kind of research is that it allows us to have a broader understanding that, you know, to quote my husband, Tom, like, just because something is different doesn't mean that it's better or worse. And I think I think all of us always want to feel that we belong somehow. And so when we see that how we do something like build friendships seems to be different than other people around us, I think it's always useful to have something that's a little grounding like that and go, oh, okay, there's other people like me. I may not know many of them, but I think that's always a useful thing for us.
Well, Tamsen, I will always be your friend. If you ever need a +1, you can always call and count on me.
Awesome. Yay. I will do that.
Now, yes.
No, I was just thinking, I mean, it's like, I think we mentioned this a little bit last time, but it's like, you know, I love the fact that, like, you and I first met, I think, in person at a dinner in New York, like probably 10 to 12 years ago. And I just love the fact that we're, you know, still in touch and still chatting, and that it was, you know, dinner, you know, some dinners around an event where you and I both spoke at about 2 years ago now, that really kind of re-cemented and kind of reignited a friendship. And I just love how friendships work. So that was one of the reasons why that was a top of mind article when you asked.
I love that too. And I've always said that, you know, a real friendship, a true friendship, is one that can just be picked up after, you know, sometimes years, maybe even decades sometimes, you know, almost as if no time had elapsed. Yeah. So if that wasn't intriguing enough, then this certainly will be. This is a Fast Company article. I mean, this is just amazing. The hidden cost of gaining expertise. And I'll read you a quote, or at least part of the quote. The more expertise we gain in a given area, the more emotionally numb we can become. Ironically, growing knowledge about a passion-driven pursuit can diminish the emotional component of our passion for said pursuit. So tell us a little bit about the article, your take on it. But the essence of it is that sometimes, you know, what do they say? Not ignorance is bliss, but there is a degree of that naivete, that innocence, that newness, that, you know, that newbiness that actually gives you that thrill and is inextricably connected to passion.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this one was another one that's fascinating and to me for a number of reasons. One is I have directly experienced this phenomenon myself. I've seen it in people very close to me. So I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but when I was growing up, I really wanted to be an art museum director. I loved the visual arts. And in college, I volunteered and then worked for the Isabel Stewart Gardner here in Boston. And then after grad school, I worked at the Peabody Essex Museum on North Shore of Massachusetts here. And it started to kill my love for it. And I was like, I don't want to not love this. So I'm going to go do something that's parallel to this because I don't want to stop loving this thing. And I saw a similar thing actually happen with my sister. So my sister went to Stanford for a theater degree. And she was quite successful afterwards. She started work, she worked with the Williamstown Theater Festival. She worked with Portland Stage Company doing dramaturgy and all of that kind of good stuff. And the same thing started to happen. She's like, I'm starting to hate it. She's like, I love the theater and this is making me hate it. And so she, like I, went and did kind of a parallel thing and to kind of reignite that passion back. So what I thought was fascinating about this article is it's describing not only that phenomenon and why it happens, and it happens because the more expert you become in something, the more analytical you become about it, and the more that you start to see it as part of a pattern, and it becomes less and less easy for you to see it with fresh eyes and see it with that initial passion. But the other thing that was great about this article was talking a little bit about how you can reignite that, how you can consciously tamp down that. All right, I'm going to pick this apart and look at it through an expert and just really focus on how I feel about this rather than turn off the feeling and let that go. It was just another one of those articles. I was just like, oh, isn't this fascinating? I've seen this happen. Isn't it lovely to know that you can undo it when you want to? But one of the things that I said when I shared it, because I shared it as part of the swipe file links that I posted, it's actually, for me in the work that I do, it's actually a very useful skill because I spend so much time with people's ideas and helping people with talks and keynotes that it's good that I can turn off the emotional response because otherwise I get swept up in, their passion or their ability to inspire and motivate. And you can kind of miss in the moment that there might be something fundamentally weak about the argument for their idea. And so there's just, as with many things, I find myself truly ambivalent, not indifferent, but being able to see the value of both sides. And it was just a fascinating discovery. I'm curious, like what you thought about it, like what it stuck with you about that article.
Well, I can actually see, I'm looking at a few comments coming in. Robert Collins says, that's why nostalgia can hit us deeply where we can become numb to new expertise experiences. And Tom adds, I suspect that part of the problem with expertise is its connection with perceived power in an area, and that temporarily affects the brain a little like traumatic brain injury, blocking empathy, etc. In a nutshell, I think of golf, right? I don't play golf very often. I'm definitely not very good at it. In fact, I'm really bad at it. And I just see how people, the more they play and the more they're, putting in their 10,000 or 100,000 hours, the less they love it, because they're chasing this impossible, perfection or impossible goal, which is unattainable. When the difference between a 10 handicap and a scratch golf, or the difference between a 74 and a 73, it's like a lifetime. It's like an ultra extreme marathon. And so it is like diminishing marginal utility, right? You eat one ice cream, 10 points out of 10. The second is 9, the third is 8. And eventually when you vomit, it's minus 10.
Yep.
And I guess part of self-awareness is the ability to kind of know where that inflection point is.
Yeah. And like I said, one of the things that was so powerful to me about that article was this kind of the hope instilled with the fact that you actually could turn it back off, like that there are ways to re-engage with that. And just to sit back and say, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. And I think that there's times when we need to do that in order to freshen, like reconnect and freshen back up. And connect sometimes with the why, because you know, I know I spend a lot of time focusing on the what and the how someone is doing something, and making sure that you know that connected piece, that heart piece, is still there, is important. I mean, not only for the person that you know we're working with, but you know, just for your own soul. Like, you just don't want to feel like you're slogging through your day without joy in it. And so, yeah, I love this. I just love the tension that was inherent in the fact that the more you know about something, a lot of times the less emotional you can become about it. But that's not always a bad thing. And that sometimes, you know, it's worth setting that power that Tom was talking about, and talking about Robert was talking about, and just really leaning into the feeling of something, and having that conscious choice of saying, you know, I'm just going to feel this one. I'm not going to analyze it. I'm not going to assess it. I'm just going to feel it.
And I'll just add what I know I put so many comments. We'll just put this on. As to the why, motives, means, and methods are all equally important. The why, the what, and the how. But actually what I wanted to do was put on Jeff Wallman's comment. At least one great golf shot amongst many poor ones gives you hope and a desire to chase a good result next time. Also an interesting, that will be a final point on this topic, but this idea that sometimes instead of trying to kind of labor out and you know, work the fun out of anything, just find those moments of surprise delight that can kind of keep you, that keep that youthful, keep that energy and passion high. But you mentioned heart, and of course the word heart is a bit of a trigger word for me at the moment. But it was also related to the quote that is related to your book. Stop trying to be less of who you are. Let this time in your life cut you open and drain all of the things that are holding you back. So that was my connection to the heart as well. But I think it brings up it brings up this notion of, you know, of your book. And I wanted to make sure if we get to the third brilliant topic that you sent me, we'll talk about it, but there's just too much stuff. Jennifer Elizabeth, who wrote Born Ready, Unleash Your Inner Dream Girl, is responsible for that quote. But Tamsen, let's talk about the book. Let's talk about, I mean, you've owned, in a way, talk about powerful differentiation, the concept of the red thread for a while, at least in this context. And now finally, you get to publish the definitive book, Find Your Red Thread. I would love for you to set it up. I would love for you to kind of, I mean, this is your baby, big time. And you know, just while
third child, yes.
While we're doing that, I'm going to do something that I've never done for anyone before, which is I'm actually going to change the entire branding of my show to red. Yes. I don't know if it's your exact Pantone
That's fine.
color.
I'll take it. It's good.
But yeah, set up the concept of the red thread. And of course, you know, many of us have heard about it. Many of us, you know, have heard this quote: an invisible red thread connects those who are destined to meet regardless of time, place, or circumstance. The thread may stretch or tangle, but will never break. But this isn't just about relationships. This is about so much more.
Yeah, I think the red thread, in the context that I use it and talk about it, describes a phenomenon I think that all of us have had, and that is, consciously or not, and that is that we tell ourselves stories to make the world make sense. You know, the world is not a place of pattern and order, but our brains seek it constantly, and where we don't find the pattern and the order that we're looking for, we impose it. And we impose it in the form of story. And so that story is really what we're talking about here. And in the context of the work that I do, which is help people, you know, articulate and explain and drive action from their ideas, this idea of how do you get that story of the idea across? How do you get the power of the idea, the thing that makes it make sense, the explanation of it? How do you get that in a way that's powerful? That's really what it's all about. It's about providing that story that someone would otherwise tell themselves about your idea, but pre-planning it and planting that seed in their head.
I like to think in a way that the way that I've interpreted your fantastic vision and strategic framework. In a way, it's like a common thread, but with meaning and purpose. It's being able to find, the thing that runs through, that unites, that grounds, that integrates, and that unifies. And one thing I loved is, in writing 7 Things This Book Will Teach You, I see so many ingredients from previous guests. The ability to simplify, that even yesterday talking with Bill Jensen about how you really are able to compartmentalize and break down in order then to rebuild and build back stronger. And I just love the fact that you've been able to kind of bring this to life in and through your book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because we process the world as story, the hypothesis that I went into all of this with about 5 years ago when I first started coming up with this approach was, it kind of went like this in my head. It said, all right, how do I make it efficient as possible? And efficiency was key because at the time I was working with TEDx speakers. How do I get this big, beautiful idea, somebody's entire body of work, into 3 to 18 minutes? So I've got to figure out a way to get it in there, put it into language and concepts that anybody could understand, not just fellow experts. How do I do that? And I was like, okay, well, how do people make sense of the world? And it doesn't take much scratching the surface to discover that we make sense of the world through story. And so my thinking was, well, what if we could take this body of information and put it in the form of a story? Wouldn't that work? How would that happen? Because essentially what we'd be doing is taking this operating system of our brain, which is story structure, breaking an idea into the lines of code that our brains already recognize, and essentially uploading those elements of the idea into our audience's brain so that their story-seeking brain could just read the lines of code and go, oh, yeah, I get that. And so that sent me down the path of saying, okay, well, what is the simplest way I can articulate the structure of a story? Yeah, not a once upon a time story, though you can use this to help structure those kinds of stories. It's one layer below telling a story. It's really about how is a story structured, because it's the structure of a story that is what conveys the information, not just the content of it.
Structure of a story versus just the content, indeed, and the ability to organize. I mean, it actually brings us right back to the final topic that you had brought, which is why good arguments make better strategy. And I just love this whole concept.
I love this article.
I mean,
so much.
And I'm just going to, in a way, this is about the power of constructive debate. I just want to read a quick data point. 37% of 6,000 executive respondents in a piece of research said that their company had a well-defined strategy. That's only 37%. And 35% believed that their company's strategy would lead to success. So with 1 in every 3 companies actually having a clue about strategery stuff and structure, what this article is saying, the way to get there, besides actually buying your book, and I might add, attending one of your masterminds, which I think I'm going to attend because I struggle to distill and focus, and simplify my own story, but is through actually being able to create an environment that encourages arguments and good ones.
Yes, right. Logical arguments that connect, like a reasoned logical explanation for why an action, a strategy, is the right way or the best way to achieve a particular outcome. And that is, the reason why I love this article so much was like, that's the red thread. I mean, what you're building when you build a red thread is you're building not just a story, you're building an argument, you're building a case for an idea. So when I read this article, which I just loved, it was one of those that was instantly ever notable, as I like to say, and I did instantly ever note it, because I knew I'd keep coming back to this one again and again, was just this idea of that in order for people to sign on to a strategy, they have to understand and agree with how it was achieved in the first place. And if you think back, like I know any business I've been in where we've done strategic planning, that's not where the discussion is. It's kind of all on the things to do, but very little on the why to do them. So yeah, I've got those authors on my list. And I'm hoping that through my contacts at TEDx Cambridge and elsewhere that I want to just chat with the authors of that article. I'm like, please, I just want to talk to you about this work because I'm so fascinated by it.
Well, I hope you loop me into it as well, because, it also does take me back to join the conversation, where I actually defined conversation as between two or more sides as opposed to two or more people, because, and even Bryce Hoffman coming in and talking about red teaming. Well, it's a good red because it's red threading and red teaming.
There you go.
It is so important to have diversity of thought, and be able to bring in different perspectives, but also to argue against, sometimes toxic positivity and, and success theater. And I love how you interweave, if you will, the red thread into strategic thinking and strategic planning. It just shows you how pervasive it is.
Yeah, and I think the value of an argument-based approach, again, not fighting, but like a constructive case for something, which is really what that's about, and getting those multiple perspectives is. And this is the thing I see over and over again when I'm working with my clients on building a red thread, which again is exactly this kind of argument-based strategy, is that it forces clarity, it forces choice, it forces you to surface your underlying assumptions about how things work or how they should work. And if you think about it, so often that's where conflict actually arises, is when we don't fundamentally agree on the how of something, right? We may agree on the ends, but we disagree on the means to those ends. And that's where so much trouble can happen. So I think the more that you've got some way, anyway, red thread or not, to surface that underlying thinking, to surface the very specific aspects of your point of view that articulate and help you understand why you do, not just why you do what you do, but why you do what you do the way that you do it. That is actually, I think, the still to be undiscovered country about where great leadership, great marketing, great branding, great communication, and great humanness really comes from.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, respect and empathy, again, just win the order of the day when it all comes through that way. By the way, so Tom says, and we're going to go to Tom in 1 second, but he said, philosopher John Stuart Mill suggested that a contest of ideas, logically examined, is a foundation of democracy. When we lack alternate perspectives or different ideas, we easily go wrong. And it's funny because then David Libby said red thread for Congress. And then Stephen Rubin, who is the one solitary conservative that watches the show, he says, red is the real party, and he's really referring to your branding. So you know what? I may just have to, I'm about to just hack my own, and now we've turned to blue as well, just to be
to give some parity. Yes. Yeah. Equal airtime. Yes. I support that.
Tamsen, as always, you may have to become my first 3-time returning guest. I think Tom Morris will probably take issue with that. No, he won't, because you're just so awesome. But speaking of which, it is time for our Philosopher's Stone, our Philosopher's Corner, Mr. Tom Morris.
Hi, I'm philosopher Tom Morris with a thought about the hardest questions we ever face. A question without an answer is a piece of the unknown, a beachhead of uncertainty. And for lots of people, it can sometimes cause a sort of spiritual vertigo, almost a dizziness with an undertone of anxiety or even fear. The big irony of questions is that they seem to demand answers to generate new beliefs, and yet they're often at their best in serving us when they spark attitudes and behaviors like curiosity and attentive search, even intellectual humility, and a kind of an existential openness. Hard questions sometimes work their real magic when we greet them as friends and learn to live well with them, calmly accepting them as they are and taking them in as companions or actual partners for the adventures we're on in the world. Questions may come into our lives to shape us rather than just inform us. When we accept them for what they are, with inner calm and even a spirit of creative love, we can prosper. And if you have any hard questions about any of this, well, then good.
Well, that was mean.
Tom
I
Morris,
question.
I just love that man's brain. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Tom hopefully will be with us tomorrow on our
Good.
Zoom reunion show. Tamsen, this was just fantastic. Get a cup of coffee or a drink or a glass of water, or sit back, because we're about to bring on Gabriel Greenwood, and then we'll see you just for the tail end of the show.
All righty.
Well, that was Tamsen Webster. And again, her book is called Find Your Red Thread, even though that banner is blue, redthreadbook.com. She has a mastermind, and we can ask her about that right at the end, redthreadmastermind.com. And most importantly, so you never miss any threads, sign up and subscribe to her newsletter at tamsenwebster.com/newsletter. For those of you that are still wanting to take advantage of the offer, the QR code is live for the next 9 minutes. So there it is. Snap it, snap it, snap it before it's gone. And it's gone. But now it's time to bring on our creator who will be performing, Mr. Gabriel Greenwood, who is a Nashville-based singer, songwriter, arranger, composer, and voice teacher. His influences include Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, Steely Dan, Jordan Rakai, Mac Ayres, and his mother, Ruth Greenwood. And Ruth, I hope you're watching, and I'm sure that you are unbelievably proud of your son. Gabriel gives private voice lessons virtually using a platform called LessonFace, and you can actually sign up via lessonface.com/Gabriel Greenwood. He'll be performing his original unreleased song called High School Reunion. I guess we know which friendship type he would be referring to. Gabriel, welcome to the show. Thank you for being so patient.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Joseph. This is really cool, and thank you for having me.
Oh, I am honored to have you, and we're going to let you just take it away, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This is called High School Reunion. It's been a while for you. It's only been a moment for me. Those 4 years are through. We made it back with both of our degrees. They say that college is a place to grow, to find yourself and find a second home. But I go back to the first one I've ever known. And there you are, rolling down the boulevard that they call memory lane. And it all feels the same. Like, damn, there goes the girl that I could have had, but I didn't, 'cause I didn't know how to love someone, I'll admit it. But now that I do, have you thought about me since high school? Have you still got the yearbook? I think we're on page 85, yeah. I recognize your handwriting, and I recognize that you've had a good life. You said you met someone last time you were home. You went went to Tufts, you went to Mount Holyoke, but in your graduation pics, you were all alone. And now here we are, we're rolling down the boulevard that they call memory lane. Don't it all feel the same? For me, it's like, damn, there goes that girl that I could have had, but I didn't, 'cause I didn't know how to love someone, I'll admit it. But now that I do, have you thought about me since high school? Damn, there goes that girl I could have had, but I didn't, 'cause I didn't know how to love someone, I'll admit it. But now that I do, have you thought about me? Have you thought about me? Have you thought about me since high school? Thank you guys so much.
You know, Tamsen is on as well. Before, here's the thing, Gabriel, I was just thinking, I'd like to dedicate that song to my son, Aaron, who graduates from high school today. I was suddenly swept with so much emotion, and then I realized, wait a second, I can't dedicate that song. I didn't write that song. But if you wouldn't mind dedicating that song or this performance to him, I would be absolutely honored.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Tamsen, what did you think?
It's just gorgeous. And I think all of us have probably had those moments and those people that we have those similar thoughts and feelings about. So thank you so much for Gabriel for just bringing us all back there.
Thank you so much.
And, Tom Morris says, thanks for the music, GG. So you've become known already as GG on the show, apparently. Hopefully you like that. And I did want to say, speaking about bringing us back, Tom says the red thread brings us back to Joseph and Tamsen, and we can add Gabriel to that mix as well. Gabriel, tell us a little bit about your journey, about what does your red thread look like in terms of where you've been, where you are, where you're heading, and what is that beautiful common thread that just is always present in your life?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Princeton, New Jersey, and I lived there for from 3 years old to 18 years old, and then I moved down to Nashville, Tennessee to study at Belmont University, and I graduated from there in May of 2020, and that graduation involved seeing my name on a YouTube live stream in my house, and during my college experience, I got to write a lot of music and also arrange a lot of music for my acapella group. I've always been into acapella. I went to this program called Acapella Academy for the 3 summers before college. It was started. It's a summer program in Los Angeles that was started by Avi Kaplan of Pentatonics, and gained a lot of exposure there to the acapella scene and how to arrange, and so that carried over to my college experience, and so I was part of one of the co-ed groups there. It's called Prismatics, and we did a lot of great music there. And of course, I've always had my mom and my dad. My mom's a singer-songwriter herself, and she has her own album. It's available on all streaming platforms. It's called "I Won't Apologize" by Ruth Greenwood, and I definitely grew up with that album, and she's definitely where I got my everything from, but also specifically my musicality from.
That's
And
beautiful. Say
yeah,
the name again. I think the connection went a little bit weak there. I just want to make sure we caught that.
it's "I Won't Apologize" by Ruth Greenwood.
All right, we'll make. I Won't Apologize by Ruth Greenwood, and also, Avi Kaplan. I've listened to some of his singles; they're amazing.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. So wonderful influence. Well, I want to ask you one more question. I want to make sure that Tamsen has a chance as well. What's next for you? What does the future look like?
Getting these songs recorded. I'm working with producers here in Nashville. I waited until I could work with session musicians again. I'm glad that I'm now at the point where I can do that. I just wanted to work with really good people to just elevate my music and make it be the kind of music that I really want to do. And I know that means that I didn't, some would say I wasn't productive as much during lockdown, but hey, it's my career and it's my music, and I'm willing to be patient to get the result I want.
Tamsen, you have a question?
Well, I'm curious about in those moments when, how do you in your own mind counteract that? Because I think that's something a lot of people feel, right? Where there's all these people who tell you the right way that you should do X, Y, or Z. What are some of those things that you come back down to? What are some of those deepest beliefs that you have about yourself, about the world, that allow you to go, yeah, no, I hear the words coming out of your mouth, but I'm going to do it this way?
Well, ADHD definitely helps me not listen to people that intently. But even so, I feel like, people's interpretation of the right way wasn't even the right way eight or 9 years ago. And the music industry changes so quickly, and especially with technological advances and the rise of platforms like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. It's an ever-changing industry, and so I feel like we're at a point where there's no real right way, because there's no platform where you don't have at least a little bit of a fighter's chance to make it big through it.
Well, we certainly think you've got that fighting chance. This was beautiful. You are softly spoken and humble and very gentle. And what a beautiful emotional song on an emotional day for many, many reasons. One of which is my son's graduation. The other one being the final show until I take an enforced, but actually a hiatus that I am embracing and welcoming very much so, to recharge my batteries. So thank you, Gabriel. I want to make sure as well that people know that Tamsen, with her book, has all these amazing little experiential bundles, irresistible bundles, and event packs. And I just love how you've bundled all of these together, Tamsen, to not just buy the book, not just, to buy in bulk, but you've created experiential packages, just kind of like I have done on my rally.io, which is that people can feel it's not just a transaction or a piece of consumption. They can actually feel that they're part of a community or an experience. And I do want to make sure, if you didn't pick this up, please send some love Gabriel's way. He's Gabriel Greenwood 97 on Cash App or via Venmo, and sign up for some private voice lessons virtually with Gabriel. We know that he prefers in person, but I'm sure this platform is phenomenal. if you want to develop your talent, Gabriel is the man to help you do it. Guys, I am honored, I am humbled to have shared this day and this moment with you. Tamsen, I think you know that the final word always belongs to Chuck Norris, who determines whether you've still got it, Tamsen, and whether Gabriel's got it. And I think the answer is a resounding...
You are Chuck Norris approved.
There you go.
And you are too, Joseph Jaffe. I know you're about to wrap up, but I think it's really important. I hope I can speak for the entire community when we all wish you, first, the graduation of your 2 kids today and next week. But most of all, that you have the most amazing heart. And I know that the doctors are going to take very good care of it and of you. And we wish you all a speedy recovery.
I appreciate it, and hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow on our reunion show, but most importantly, thank you for your friendship. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.